First of all, so how to hold the testis in anatomical position? Okay, what you're supposed to do, you could able to identify this as the testis. Could you able to see that? This grayish pinkish in color, that is the testis over here. Could you able to see that? And you can see it is connected to a duct over here. Leave about this part, and this part is like a duct-like structure. This one. Could you able to see that? This part. This part is like a duct-like structure. This one. Could you able to see that?
Yes. Yes.
This one is duct-like, right? Could you able to see that? Like a cord. Okay. So what might be this cord? This is a spermatic cord. Okay. So how to identify whether it is right testis or left testis? First of all, how to hold it in anatomical position? So you have to hold just the spermatic cord. So automatically it will fall into its own anatomical position.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. But whether it is right testis or left testis, how to identify? Sinus of the testis over here. Okay. So where is the sinus? Let us see all the parts of the testis first of all. Okay. See here. I have told you already. This is the testis. This is the testis, right? It contains the upper end, lower end, anterior border which is convex and smooth over here, and posterior border where the epididymis and vas deferens are present. So that's why this attachment represents the posterior border of the testis over here. Getting it over? Anterior border is free of no attachment over here apart from the visceral layer over here, visceral layer of the tunica vaginalis. So this is a convex and smooth anterior border of the testis, and posterior border is convex but flat over here. Okay, comparatively flat. Okay, and then coming to the surfaces, there will be medial surface and lateral surface over here. Okay, how to and one more thing is the, see here, this is a small projection over here. This small projection, could you able to see that? This small projection. Yeah, this small projection over here towards the upper end of the testis. This is a small projection. Could you able to see that? This is the appendix of the testis, which is a remnant of mullerian. So there is no appendix of the epididymis. May present or may not present. It's a remnant. May present or may not present. Okay. So appendix of the epididymis is absent over here, but appendix of the testis is present. So appendix of the epididymis is attached to the head of the epididymis, which is found by head of the epididymis is found by no. Head of the epididymis is found by different ductules, nothing but the lobules of the epididymis over here. Okay, right. And then let us see now. So this is the epididymis over here. So far we have seen the testis and the attachments over here. This is the epididymis. Could you able to see that? It's a C shape, like a comma shape it is. This one. This is the epididymis. Could you able to see that? This is the epididymis. Okay. This is the epididymis. Okay. This one. This is the epididymis. Could you able to see that? Yes. This one. A comma shaped or a worm-like structure which is overlapping the testis over here. That is the epididymis over here. Let us see the parts of the epididymis. See here. This part which is overlapping the upper end of the testis is nothing but the head of the testis, and which is exactly at the posterior border towards the lateral aspect is nothing but the body of the testis. Sorry, body of the epididymis. And towards the lower end of the testis, this part is the tail of the epididymis over here. See properly, everybody. So this is the head of the epididymis over here, which is overlapping the upper end of the testis. Okay, and then which is attached to the posterior border in between the upper end and lower end towards the posterior border, towards the lateral aspect of the posterior border. This part is the body of the epididymis over here, and which is towards the lower end of the testis is the tail of the epididymis. Could you able to see that? Towards the lower end is the tail of the epididymis over here. Towards the upper end is the head of the epididymis. In between that is the body, head and tail. Towards the upper end, head, and towards the lower end, tail over here. Could you able to see the difference? And in between that, to the upper end and lower end is the body of the epididymis. And if you see properly, the epididymis is more inclined towards the lateral aspect. Could you able to see that? It is seen over here, but not on this side. Could you see that? Right? So this side epididymis is not present, but this side it is very much clear. Right? Lateral aspect. See here. Lateral aspect of the epididymis is very much clear, but not on the medial aspect. Could you see the epididymis on the medial aspect? No. Towards the lateral aspect it is present. Okay. So posterolaterally epididymis, posteromedially vas deferens. Okay. Let us see the sinus of the testis over here. Could you able to see this gap in between the epididymis, body of the epididymis and the testis? This gap. Could you able to see that? This is the sinus over here. This gap in between the epididymis and the testis is a sinus over here. This sinus is present towards the lateral aspect, not towards the medial aspect. Obviously. See here. This is the sinus of the testis over here. Could you able to see that? This one. This gap over here. Could you able to see that? This gap in between the testis and the epididymis over here is nothing but the sinus of the testis over here. Could you able to see that? This gap. So this gap is present only towards the lateral aspect, not towards the medial aspect. So obviously this testis is Left-sided testis. Okay. So how to hold it? Because a male will be having two testes, so obviously two hands. Okay, right testis and left testis. So obviously I should hold with left hand, not the right hand. So you have to hold it. Just hold the spermatocord. So everything will fall into its anatomical position. How it is falling into its anatomical position? So look at the upper end. It is anterior and lateral. It is directed. Could you able to see that? Could you able to see that? Whenever you are holding the spermatocord, the upper end is directed anterior and lateral. Could you able to see that? It is obliquely directed. So upper end is directed anterior and lateral. Okay, forward and lateral. Could you able to see that? So the upper end is directed, in case of the anatomical position, it is directed forward and lateral, not medial, lateral. Okay. So this is how you are supposed to hold the testis in anatomical position. Just hold the spermatocord after identification of the side. That's enough. Just hold the spermatocord. That's it. So this part is a spermatocord. Could you able to see that? This part. This part is a thick cord-like structure, nothing but a spermatocord. Could you able to see that? This one is the spermatocord, where it is attached to the upper end of the testis, but this part is attached towards the entire aspect over here, entire aspect of the testis, but this part is attached only to the upper end of the testis. Whatever I am holding with the forceps, it is attached to the only to the upper end of the testis over here. This is nothing but the spermatic cord over here. Okay, spermatic cord is attached to the posterior border of the testis, but towards the upper end of the testis. Okay, not through the entirely through the posterior border, but only towards the upper end of the posterior border of the testis is the attachment of the spermatocord. The upper limit is till the deep ring. That is important. Till the deep ring is the spermatocord. Spermatocord will be extending in between the deep ring and the upper end of the posterior border of the testis over here. Okay. So this is the spermatocord. Could you see the difference? This cord, you can see it is absolutely separated from something. This is the spermatocord. Could you see that? Right? This is a spermatocord. Could you able to see that? It is absolutely separating from this layer over here. This is a spermatocord. Could you able to see that? This is a spermatocord over here, which is attached clearly to the upper end over here, not to the other area. Then what is this layer? Then what is this layer, Mike? This layer, you can see. We'll see that. We'll see that. Okay. You can see that this layer is continuing all the way from testis towards this aspect. There is a communication over here. Could you able to see that? This is the communication between the covering of the testis over here and over here also. You can see there is a communication over here. Could you able to see that? So what might be this aspect? See here. This is the communication between the layer covering the testis and other areas over here. This is the communicating area. It is continuous over here. So what might be this layer and what might be this layer of the structure? So immediately in front of the testis, which structure is present? Tunica vaginalis. Vasculus is a deeper structure. Vasculus is within the lobules of the testis, which contains the seminiferous tubules and Leydig cells. Okay. Okay. But here this part, the outermost layer of the testis is nothing but the visceral layer of the visceral layer of the tunica vaginalis over here. And this is a continuation with this layer over here. It is not over the testis. Is it not? It is not over the testis. It is away from the testis over here. Could you see that? So obviously this must be which layer? Parietal layer of the tunica vaginalis. Absolutely. Parietal layer of the tunica vaginalis. Okay. So what might be these other layers? Might be these other layers, outer aspect, these other layers might be. So if this is the, for example, if this is the tunica vaginalis, it is covering the entire testis in this manner. It will be covered in this manner over here. Could you understand? Yes. Could you understand? So this is the tunica vaginalis, which is wrapping around the testis over here. That's why it is forming the visceral layer and parietal layer over here. So the structures which are outer to the parietal layer of the tunica vaginalis is nothing but the spermatic fascia, cremasteric fascia, and all those things which are not present over here. Okay. So with respect to the testis, what might be this layer? This layer is nothing but the parietal layer of the tunica vaginalis over here. So beyond this tunica parietal layer will be the scrotal skin, ductus, muscle, external spermatic vein, and all those things over here, which are not present over here. So what you are supposed to tell about these layers? This is the, which is immediately next to the testis, is a visceral layer of the tunica vaginalis, and this is the parietal layer of the tunica vaginalis. That's all. So all these are the intrinsic coverings of the testis over here. Getting it on? Okay. So this is about the gross, and let us say the cross section. Nothing is seen in the cross section. See here, everybody. Try to see the different lobules of the testis over here. Each and every block is a lobule. See properly. This is a lobule. 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 Okay. So this partition, whatever you are seeing, there is a color difference. Could you able to see that? This is pinkish in color and this is grayish in color. Is it alright? What? Yeah, absolutely. So this is the rete testis and this part is the mediastinum testis and each one and every one is the lobule of the testis over here. Getting it alright? Could you able to see that or not? Right? So this partition is the mediastinum testis over here and this is the rete testis over here. You can see the ducts going over here. Okay, this is the rete testis and this is the mediastinum testis over here and these are the lobules of the testis over here. You can see that, right? See here everybody. This is the partition. You can see the color difference between this one and this one. You can see that. This is brownish in color, this is grayish in color, right? And this is a partition which is mediastinum testis over here and each and everything is the lobule of the testis over here. Okay, and this part is nothing but the rete testis over here. Getting it out? That will be continued into the what is that? Epidermis, head of the epidermis over here. Getting it or not? So this is the rete testis, and this is the mediastinum testis, and this is the lobules of the testis over here. Alright. See here a color difference. So these are the lobules of the testis over here, and this is the part over here. See properly and tell. What you meant with this layer, which is covering the testis? Tunica albuginea, exactly. Tunica albuginea is like a fibrous tissue. You can see the fibrous tissue. It is not a loose areolar tissue. It is a fibrous tissue. You have seen the fibrous tissue, right? Fibrous tissue, have you seen, right? Where you would have seen? Pericardia, exactly, very good. Pericardium, same sort of fibrous structure over here. You can see that. So this must be tunica albuginea over here. Tunica albuginea. Okay, tunica vasculosa will be within the lobules of the testis. We can't separate it. Okay. And again, you can see this must be which layer? Obviously, outside the tunica albuginea will be, this must be tunica vaginalis. Tunica vaginalis. Oh, visceral layer, obviously visceral layer. So here will be the visceral layer and here will be the parietal layer of the tunica vaginalis over here. Okay, tunica albuginea, tunica vasculosa you can't see. Next layer will be tunica albuginea and then the next layer, the outermost layer will be the tunica vaginalis over here. Getting it or not? Tunica vaginalis over here. Okay. So how to hold it in? So which testis this might be? Try to identify which testis this might be. No gloves are. Okay. So try to identify. Yeah, it's okay. Right or left? Left arm. How can you say which is left? It is the sinus of the testis or sinus of the epidermis. You can say. You can see that sinus. You can able to see the sinus. This is the epidermis and this is the testis. This is the cap. This is the sinus. Could you put the sinus over here? Sinus. Could you put the sinus over here in between the epidermis and the testis? This is the sinus over here. Could you see that? The space in between the epidermis and the testis. This is the space over here, where the visceral layer continues with the parietal layer of the tunica vaginalis over here. So this is the space. So the sinus is lined by tunica vaginalis, obviously, because at the sinus it will be wrapping around the testis and covering the epidermis and then becomes the parietal layer. Could you understand? So this is the epidermis over here. Yeah? The space in between the epidermis and testis over here is this one. Getting it or not? So the tunica vaginalis will be covering, the visceral layer will be covering over here and enters into the sinus and again wraps the epidermis and here it continues as a parietal layer. So anterior aspect of the epidermis is covered by the tunica vaginalis but not the posterior aspect of it. Getting it or not? Right? So which sided testis is this? Obviously the left side. Which side testis? Left side testis. That's all. That's all. That's all.